So, not the most ideal news for Dallas right here because they're in a position now where they've had a pretty okay start to the year. Um, Not gonna lie, like 3-3 is kind of what you would hope for, especially with the start they've had. Um, and they've been one of the very few teams to have faced in Liberty with Sabrina Ionescu, who's currently injured. Like she's not playing tonight, so this is a pretty big one. However, Paige Bueckers is their best player, clearly, and is having a pretty good start to the year. Like, I think when it's all said and done, if we're putting I'm gonna get an MVP list, where we rank Paige? Like, he probably below Ryan, definitely below Plum, Caitlin, and Aja. They're probably top three. Below Ryan, do you think Natasha Howard belongs in that conversation? Oh, Dallas Wings are 4-3. Why did I think they were 3-3? Okay, 4-3 is good. They've played a tough 7 games to start off. So, and they are playing, obviously, in a game tomorrow, but Paige Bueckers has been listed as probable, and it is a leg injury. If it was her, like, patellar tendonitis, it would be one of these things where it would be like listed as knee. But the last time they did this whole thing about probable, like AZ missed the game. So look, I think this is a team that is probably going to be like taking as much caution as they can when it comes down to it for Paige, but this is a confusing one because again, I look back when she was missing games last year for basically load management. And you know what, fair enough, she played a full college year. But like Unrivaled, especially with how Paige is playing, there's not that much running in Unrivaled. Like that is a tune-up. Unrivaled as much as anything is a tune-up. So I do feel in general like if you're Paige, you're probably like if you're Wings, you're probably a little bit annoyed seeing like seeing this right here where you've now got a player out, potentially out for a game if you're a Wings fan. And look, even if this is just precaution, if for the Wings, I would say cool. Like shout out to Dallas for listing her on the injury report because fans aren't going to show up guaranteeing Paige Bueckers. They're not guaranteeing Paige Bueckers going to play. She's at least probable. And my guess is they're probably going to see how she is tomorrow. Probably going to run through shoot around, whatever it is. But you do hope. You do hope as much as possible that this is precaution and nothing happened in practice. But the thing is, for people saying, oh, they're just sitting her out, they haven't played a game since Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Like, this is a 4-day off. Like, I think this is like their biggest time they have off this year. And I'm looking through their fixtures. This seems like one of the games where you're like, yeah, we can give her a break. And you're saying, what do I mean by that? I'm like, they're facing the Aces. Like, this is going to be a hell game for Paige. Like, she's going to have to take on the Kennedy Carter assignment or the Jackie Young assignment. And who knows, Jackie Young might remember how to play basketball again. Or even the Jewel Lloyd assignment isn't easy. Like, Paige is going to have to take a tough defensive assignment. And if she's not 1,000%, it's going to be really tough for her to play in this game. Like, if she's 80 to 90% facing off against the Aces, it becomes a really bad situation. I'm trying to click on that. So you can't even click on Wings out of this anymore. You used to be able to click on the teams from this. That is really, really annoying. So you have to go through all this. But the one thing I will say with the Dallas Wings now is they're a lot more capable of playing without Paige Bueckers than last year. Like, Paige, clearly their best player, but like Odyssey Sims, AZ Arike. You hope Alana Smith plays as little basketball as possible. And Jess Shepherd are still a pretty good main four, especially off the game that AZ just had. Although I think it'll be a bit tougher for AZ because she's just going to be face guarded. Like, she is going to be absolutely face guarded. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. But Jess Shepherd's, like, she'd be in my early season All-Stars. Like, through 1 month, she would be absolutely an All-Star. I think it just means you give Segrist and Zaza more minutes. Like, I think they're grand. Like, obviously, you want Paige on the floor, but I'm not concerned in any way about the Dallas Wings, like, majorly. It's not like last year where Paige misses a game and it's like, oh yeah, it's over. They don't have no chance. I think they beat the Mystics without Paige last year. I think that was it. While the Mystics were trying to lose, I think. But like, it's not really going to make that much of a difference. But yeah, it is a little bit of a concern. If this is a precaution injury, then there's a big concern. You might be saying, oh, but if it's nothing big, like if they have their longest time off for the year, like they literally, this game was on, was the game on Sunday? It was. But like they've got 4 days off. And if you look at the schedule for the Dallas Wings, like they don't have any of these crazy things. Like the Indiana Fever play 2 games in 13 days. They have like 3 days off here, 2 days off, 4 days off. Like they don't play a single back-to-back. A lot of things, like they have what is deemed as like the cakewalk schedule. They have what's deemed as the cakewalk schedule, and Paige Bueckers picking up even what is a minor injury is not going to be the most ideal scenario. But if it is super minor and they're sitting there for one game, and they choose that one game to be the Aces game, kind of makes sense. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. Like, it was like last year when it came to some of the things with some players where you're like, look, you don't want to risk them against. I remember it was Caitlin. I was like, she's not healthy. You don't need her. You shouldn't need her against the Sun. But like, they did need her against the Sun. They lost the first time against the Sun last year. Their first game of the season without Caitlin. Like, it was bad. Like, I can't remember what was it. It was like there was a stage last year where 66% of the wins for the Sun and the Sparks came against Caitlin Clarkless Fever. 2 of 3. But yeah, look, I'm not worried if I'm a Wings fan. I'm not worried. You shouldn't be worried. Like, the Paige situation is probably nothing. It is near certainly nothing. But it is it's not an ideal situation for anyone that a player is even in precaution on an injury report this early, especially a player who has, I'm not going to say like who has a history of injuries, which she does. And look, I do think in general that the Dallas Wings are a good team. In terms of like they didn't make Paige play back-to-backs last year. They did a good job managing her reps. They did a good job making sure she was fresh. And yeah, I do think in general they very well could be doing the same thing. But again, when it comes down to the injury report, seeing Paige Bueckers' name on there isn't an ideal scenario at all. Absolutely not at all for any, to be honest, for her fans, for anyone that wants to watch Paige, because if she goes and misses this game, they have no chance. I still favor the Aces anyway, but I think they have no chance. And to be fair, it was like people were wondering with Caitlin. When Caitlin obviously came back against the Valks, there were a lot of fans saying that like Caitlin Clark shouldn't play against the Valks because, well, look, they're probably going to lose either way. And if she's carrying a bit of an injury, it's best to sit her out in this game. So it's not a foreign concept for fans to want to want a player to sit out of specific games and not sit out of others, because maybe she's played too many games up to this point. Maybe she just played a little bit too much. Maybe she's played too many more minutes than they wanted to play her. And they've needed her for almost all those minutes. I can't lie. Without her giving the minutes, they're probably 3 and 4 at best. But yeah, that is pretty much it. See you guys.